How 200,000 Finns humiliated Stalin's million-man army. Imagine you're standing in a forest, blanketed in snow so deep it swallows all sound. It's minus 40 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze your breath in the air. Now look to the east. 1 million soldiers are marching towards you, an unstoppable red tide of tanks and steel. You look around. You're with just 200,000 others, armed with little more than courage and skis. This isn't a movie. This is the true story of how Finland stood against Stalin's giant army in 1939. And if you stick with me, I promise you'll discover the secret tactics these outnumbered heroes used to pull off one of history's greatest upsets. The Soviet Union, led by Joseph Stalin, is confident. They think they can roll over Finland in a matter of days. Their plan is simple: overwhelm the Finns with sheer numbers. They have 4 times the soldiers, 200 times the tanks, and 100 times the aircraft. On paper, it's a guaranteed victory. The world watches, expecting Finland to fall instantly. But they didn't account for one thing: Finnish grit, or as the Finns call it, saisu. The invasion begins, and the massive Soviet columns start pushing into the dense Finnish forests. But the forests are a trap. The roads are narrow, and the tanks get stuck, strung out in long, vulnerable lines. Suddenly, the trees come alive, white-clad. Figures on skis burst from the woods, moving like ghosts through the snow. These are the Finnish ski troops. They strike fast, hitting the front and back of the Soviet columns, trapping them. They disappear back into the forest before the Soviets can even react. It's chaos. The Soviets, mostly from warmer regions, are not prepared for this brutal cold. Their vehicles freeze, their weapons jam. Their uniforms are thin and dark, making them easy targets against the white snow. And speaking of targets, let me tell you about a ghost who haunted these woods. His name is Simo Häyhä. They called him the White Death, lying perfectly still in the snow, without even using a modern scope that could glint in the sun. He picks off soldier after soldier. He uses only the iron sights on his rifle. The Soviets send teams to hunt him, even artillery strikes, but they can't find him. He's just a whisper in the wind, a phantom who racks up over 500 confirmed kills. He becomes a legend, a symbol of Finland's impossible resistance. The Finns are not just fighting with rifles and skis. They are fighting with their minds. They don't have enough anti-tank weapons to stop the thousands of Soviet tanks. So they invent their own. They fill glass bottles with a flammable mixture, stuff a rag in the top, light it, and throw it. This simple, handmade weapon is incredibly effective against the tank's engine vents. The Finns name it the Molotov cocktail, a sarcastic toast to the Soviet foreign minister, Molotov, who claimed on the radio that his bombers were dropping food baskets, not bombs. The Finns dryly called the bombs Molotov's bread baskets, and decided their fiery bottles were the perfect cocktail to go with them. For over 100 days, this incredible struggle continues. The Finns fight for every inch of their homeland. They turn the frozen landscape into their greatest weapon. They use the darkness of the long winter nights to their advantage, launching raids that spread terror and confusion. The million-man Soviet army, one of the largest in the world, is being bled dry by a small nation of determined people. They are completely humiliated on the world stage. Stalin is furious. He throws more and more men into the fight, paying a staggering price for every step forward. In the end, the sheer size of the Soviet Union is too much to hold back forever. Finland is forced to sign a peace treaty and give up some territory, but they never surrendered. They preserved their independence. They showed the world that a free people, fighting for their homes, can stand against impossible odds. The Soviets lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers, thousands of tanks and planes. Finland, though, scarred, remained free. Their legend, born in the fire and ice of the Winter War, proves that the size of the dog in the fight doesn't matter as much as the size of the fight in the dog. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by this story of incredible courage, hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing tales from history. Imagine this. It's minus 40 degrees. A million-man army is pouring across your border. Your own army is just a fifth of that size. You have almost no tanks, no air force to speak of, and the world has abandoned you. What do? Do you surrender? Well, if you're a Finn in 1939, you fight. You fight so hard that you humiliate one of the world's superpowers. Stick with me, and I'll show you exactly how a tiny nation of farmers and loggers brought Stalin's mighty Red Army to its knees. By the end of this video, you will understand the true meaning of courage. It's November 1939. Joseph Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union, looks at the map. He wants a buffer zone to protect Leningrad, and he sets his eyes on Finland. He demands they hand over huge chunks of their land. The Finns say no, so Stalin unleashes his Red Army. 1 million soldiers, thousands of tanks, and hundreds of planes surge forward. They expect to conquer Finland in 2 weeks, tops. They're so confident, their soldiers are told not to cross the Swedish border by mistake. They even have their marching bands ready for a victory parade in Helsinki. What they weren't ready for was the Finnish spirit, what the Finns call saisu. The Soviet tanks roll into the dense, dark forests, expecting an easy path. But the forests are silent, too silent. Suddenly, the trees explode into action. White figures on skis dart between the pines, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. These are the Finnish ski troops. They glide silently over the snow, striking fast and hard before melting back into the woods. They know this land, every frozen lake, every hidden path. The Soviets, stuck on the few frozen roads, are sitting ducks. The Finns hit the lead tank and the last tank in a column, trapping everything in between. They call this the Matti tactic, a Finnish word for a pile of firewood waiting to be chopped. And they chop. The Soviets are freezing. They weren't given proper winter clothing. Their uniforms are thin, their boots are falling apart, and their guns are freezing solid. They huddle around bonfires, trying to survive the crippling cold. But those fires make them perfect targets. And there's one man, one sniper, they fear more than the cold itself. His name is Simo Häyhä, dressed completely in white, blending perfectly with the snow. He lies in wait. He doesn't even use a scope, because the glint of the lens could give him away, and the scope itself could frost over. Using just his iron sights, he becomes a phantom. The Soviets call him the White Death. In just 100 days, he racks up over 500 confirmed kills. The Soviets send entire teams to hunt him. They carpet bomb the areas where he's thought to be, but they can't stop him. He is the ghost of the forest. The Finns are outmatched in tanks, but they are resourceful. A Finnish captain at the state alcohol company has an idea. They take glass bottles, fill them with a flammable mix of gasoline, tar, and ethanol, and stuff a rag in the top. They light the rag and hurl it at the Soviet tanks. It's a cheap, effective, homemade anti-tank weapon. They name it the Molotov cocktail, a sarcastic toast to the Soviet foreign minister, Vyacheslav Molotov, who had lied on the radio, claiming Soviet planes were dropping food baskets, not bombs. The Finns joked, if Molotov is providing the food, we'll provide the drinks. For over 100 days, this tiny nation holds back the giant. They inflict staggering casualties on the Red Army. We're talking hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers lost, compared to about 25,000 Finns. The world watches in disbelief. This brutal, beautiful David versus Goliath story unfolds in the harshest winter imaginable. In the end, the sheer numbers of the Soviet Union are too much. Finland is forced to sign a peace treaty and give up territory, but they never surrendered. They saved their country from being conquered and absorbed into the Soviet Union. They showed the world what a few determined people can do against overwhelming odds. They taught Stalin and everyone else a lesson written in snow and blood. The lesson of Saisu. That's how you humiliate a superpower. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by the incredible story of the Finns, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic tales from history. See you in the next one.